My fingers froze mid-scroll, a wave of heat rushing from my chest to my face as my sister's Instagram post filled my phone screen. There she was, lounging on a pristine Hawaiian beach, designer sunglasses perched on her head, holding a blue cocktail garnished with a tiny paper umbrella. The caption read, "Living my best life. Number hashtag no regrets hashtag treat yourself." I might have scrolled past it if not for the gold card glinting in the corner of the photo. The same distinctive card design I'd been searching for all week. My lost card, the one connected to my business account. 3 rapid notifications pinged my phone. Fraud alerts from my bank. $13,421.88 in new charges. All from Hawaii. All in the last 72 hours. My name is Amanda. I'm 29 and the owner of a digital marketing agency. This is the story of how I reclaimed my identity from the people who were supposed to protect it. Everything okay? My assistant Natalie glanced up from her desk. I hadn't realized I was standing, my coffee mug tilted dangerously in my hand. "No," I whispered, turning my phone to show her the image. My sister just charged over $13,000 to my business account for a Hawaiian vacation. Natalie's eyes widened as she scrolled through the photos. "But didn't you open a completely different card for your mom's medical expenses?" "Exactly." I set my mug down carefully, my hands suddenly too unsteady to hold it. That card had a $5,000 limit. This one, I tapped the gold edge visible in the photo, has no preset spending limit. It's tied to Ellis Marketing Group's operating account. I'd thought the gold card was safely filed away in my home office. I hadn't used it since setting up auto payments for the business software subscriptions last quarter. The last place I expected to see it was in my sister's manicured hand, 4,000 miles away on a beach in Maui. My phone buzzed again, a text from my sister, Bethany. "Thanks for covering my vacation. The resort is amazing. Don't worry, I only spent about $100,000. You can afford it with your fancy business. Love you, kiss." The office suddenly felt too small, the air too thin. I grabbed my laptop and jacket. I need to check something, cancel my afternoon calls. 20 minutes later, I sat in my parked car outside my mother's condo. My laptop balanced on the steering wheel as I logged into my business account. The charges were even worse than the alert suggested. Not $13,000, over $97,000 in just 5 days. First-class flights, luxury resorts, designer boutiques, spa treatments, all neatly time-stamped and geotagged to Maui. But here was the detail that made my stomach drop. These weren't just random purchases. Each transaction had required my business, EIN number, and security verification. Someone had methodically gathered all my business credentials and deliberately used them to authorize these charges. I forced myself to breathe as I dialed my mother's number. She answered on the first ring. "Amanda, is everything okay?" "No, Mom, it's not." "Bethany's in Hawaii spending money on my business card. Did you know about this?" The pause lasted 2 beats too long. "Oh, that!" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "She said you gave her permission to use it, for everything she's done helping with my recovery." I pressed my forehead against the steering wheel. "Mom, I opened a separate card specifically for your medical expenses." "You know that. I never gave her permission to use my business account." Another pause. "Well, she must have misunderstood." "Misunderstood? She's posted 17 photos bragging about spending my money." "Amanda, don't exaggerate. It's just a little vacation. Besides, after everything you've achieved while she's struggled, don't you think she deserves something nice for once?" That's when I heard it. The familiar rustle of papers being moved, the soft click of a purse clasp. My mother was looking for something. "Mom, what are you doing?" "Nothing, dear." "Do you have my card?" The silence stretched out between us. Finally, "I thought it was the one you gave me for prescriptions. It has Ellis on it." "That's my business name, Mom. Ellis Marketing Group, not our family name." My voice cracked. "How did Bethany get it?" I might have let her borrow it. For emergencies. I keep them both in my desk drawer. She must have taken it when she was helping organize my paperwork last month." I closed my eyes, letting the betrayal wash over me fully. Not just my sister, but my mother, too. The two people I'd reorganized my entire life to support after Dad died. I'm coming over. 15 minutes later, I stood in my mother's kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd spent countless Sundays helping her with bills since her arthritis made writing checks difficult. The same kitchen where 3 months ago I'd sat down and explained that I was opening a credit card specifically for her medical expenses. Where is it? I kept my voice steady. My mother's eyes darted to her purse on the counter. I reached for it, but she moved faster, snatching it away. Amanda, you're overreacting. Bethany deserves a break after everything she's been through. What she's been through? Mom, I'm the one who's been paying your mortgage for the past year. I'm the one who drives you to every doctor's appointment. I'm the one who opened a credit card specifically for your medical bills. And now you're throwing it in my face? Her voice rose, familiar territory when confronted. After everything I've done for you girls. I took a step back, suddenly seeing with perfect clarity the dynamic I'd been trapped in for years. The responsible daughter, always expected to give more, never allowed to question why. Mom, give me the card. She clutched her purse tighter. Bethany said you wouldn't understand, that you've always been selfish with your success. The words hit like a physical blow. I'd started my business from my bedroom 4 years ago, working 80-hour weeks while also managing my mother's care after her diagnosis. I'd given Bethany money for rent 3 times in the past year alone. I'd covered Mom's property taxes when she forgot to budget for them. Without another word, I turned and walked to the door. Where are you going? My mother's voice followed me. To call my lawyer. It wasn't an empty threat. Back in my car, I called Maya Hensley, the corporate attorney who'd helped me establish my LLC 2 years earlier. Amanda, good to hear from you. How's business? Not good, Maya. I need your help with fraud, family fraud. To her credit, Maya didn't miss a beat. Tell me everything. For the next 20 minutes, I laid out the situation, the discovered card, the Hawaii charges, my mother's reaction. When I finished, I expected shock, perhaps even sympathy. Instead, she asked, civil or criminal? The question hung in the air. Until that moment, I hadn't fully processed that what my sister had done wasn't just a family betrayal. It was a crime. Both, I said, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. Good, Maya replied. Because this isn't just credit card theft. This is business identity theft with interstate commerce implications. That's federal territory. She walked me through the next steps, freezing the card, filing a formal fraud report with both the bank and the business insurance provider, documenting the social media posts as evidence, and preparing for what would likely become a legal battle. Your sister made one critical mistake, Maya said. She didn't use a personal card, she used a business card. That's not just stealing from you. That's stealing from a registered LLC with fraud protection insurance and legal standing. The penalties are much more severe. That night, I pulled together every piece of evidence, screenshots of Bethany's Instagram posts, bank statements, text messages. I created a folder labeled Legal Bethany Fraud Case and sent it all to Maya. Then I texted my sister. Hope the pina coladas were worth it. You'll be hearing from the fraud unit soon. 3 laughing emojis appeared almost instantly. Then, you wouldn't dare. We're family. There it was, the shield she'd hidden behind her entire life. The idea that blood ties granted her immunity from consequences. I forwarded the exchange to Maya. Perfect, she wrote back. Thanks for handing us motive. The next morning, my mother called. Her voice had that particular edge, not quite angry, not quite pleading, that she used when trying to make me back down. Amanda, this has gone far enough. It was just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding is taking the wrong umbrella, Mom. This was deliberate. She knew exactly what she was doing. She's your sister. She made a mistake. I stared out my office window at the skyline I'd worked so hard to earn a view of. Stealing nearly $100,000 isn't a mistake. It's a felony. She only did it because she knew you'd say no if she asked. I did say no, Mom. 3 times this year when she wanted investment money for schemes that never materialized. She didn't just take my card, she took my identity, my business reputation. There was a pause. Then she played her final card. You know, if you go through with this, the family will have to choose sides. The threat hung there, familiar in its manipulation but somehow powerless now, because the word family had stopped meaning safety to me a long time ago. Then they'll have to choose, I said quietly, and ended the call. That afternoon, Maya called with an update. The bank has frozen all charges and launched a formal investigation. The business insurance company has assigned an investigator and flagged this as high priority. What happens next? I asked. Your sister's accounts will be frozen for suspicious activity. Once the insurance company verifies the fraud claim, which is basically guaranteed given the evidence, they'll reimburse your business account. Then they'll pursue her for restitution. Pursue her how? Civil lawsuit minimum. Given the amount, they may recommend criminal charges as well. I nodded, forgetting she couldn't see me through the phone. Good, I said, and meant it. That evening, I received an email from Bethany. The subject line read, "Please, Amanda." The message was a masterpiece of manipulation. She wrote about how her life was falling apart, how she'd been going through things when she took the card, how Mom had been sick and she'd panicked. She ended with, "If you drop the case, I'll pay you back. Swear on everything." I replied with a single sentence, "Pay the insurance company. They own the debt now." 2 hours later, my mother emailed, "What kind of daughter ruins her own family for the sake of proving a point?" I closed my laptop without responding, because the real question was, what kind of mother lets one daughter rob the other blind and calls it loyalty? Days passed. The fraud investigation moved quickly. Bank records, IP addresses, device logs. The insurance company approved the claim, refunding the full amount to my business account. But that wasn't the end. As Maya had predicted, once the insurance paid out, they had the right to pursue Bethany for restitution, which they did, with the full force of their legal team. Somehow, the story leaked. Perhaps through a bank employee, perhaps through Bethany herself, trying to garner sympathy. The insurance investigator later confirmed that Bethany had contacted several news outlets herself, apparently hoping public sympathy would pressure me to drop the case. All I knew was that suddenly, her name appeared in local business headlines. Woman faces $100,000 fraud accusation after using sister's business card for Hawaiian vacation. The photo they used showed her on the beach, sunglasses perched on her head, cocktail in hand, still wearing that familiar, smug smile. My mother texted again, "You've embarrassed this family enough. Haven't you done enough damage?" The irony almost made me laugh. I'd opened a credit card for legitimate medical expenses. They had turned it into an opportunity for theft. The only thing I was guilty of was refusing to be their victim any longer. When Maya called to tell me the insurance company was pursuing civil restitution, she asked if I wanted to testify. "Yes," I said without hesitation, not to punish her, but to record the truth. Because I knew that someday, someone would tell this story differently. Paint Bethany as the misunderstood sister, me as the cruel one who wouldn't help family. I wanted the facts on record. She lied. She stole. She bragged about it publicly. I could forgive her, but I wouldn't excuse her. The courthouse was colder than I expected, both in temperature and atmosphere. Bethany sat across the room, dressed in a beige sweater that seemed deliberately chosen to project humility. Gone were the designer sunglasses and beach selfie confidence. She didn't look at me once during the proceedings. When the prosecutor asked if I'd like to speak, I rose from my seat, surprised by my own steadiness. "I'm not here for revenge," I began. "I'm here to reclaim my name." I told the court about our family dynamic, the bills I'd paid, the support I'd provided, the card I'd opened specifically for my mother's medical care. I described the moment I saw the Hawaii photos and how the betrayal felt like a physical blow. She didn't just steal money, I concluded. She stole trust. She took my identity, my face, my credit, my reputation, and wore it like a costume to fund her vacation. She turned my hard work into her playground, then expected me to accept it because we shared DNA. The courtroom remained silent when I finished. As I sat down, I realized I felt no anger, no fear, just clarity. The ruling came quickly. Bethany was ordered to pay full restitution to the insurance company. Her assets would be monitored. Any attempt to open new lines of credit would trigger an automatic report. She was legally bound, financially cornered. Outside the courthouse, I walked past her toward the parking lot. She caught up to me, her voice low. "Are you happy now?" she asked. I stopped and turned to face her fully. "I'm not happy or unhappy. I'm whole again." She scoffed. "You think this makes you better than us?" I looked directly into her eyes, the same shape as mine, the same color as our father's. "No," I said. "It just makes me free from you." Then I walked away, each step lighter than the last. That night, I closed the final tab on my laptop. Fraud reports, bank statements, insurance claims. I clicked Archive on the folder, then opened a new one labeled Boundaries Do Not Cross. The weeks that followed were remarkably calm. No more emergency calls, no more guilt-wrapped requests. I blocked Bethany's number and removed my mother from my contacts, not out of anger, but necessity. 6 months later, my mother sent a letter acknowledging her role in enabling Bethany's behavior. But we've maintained our distance, speaking only occasionally on holidays with clear boundaries in place. Because healing isn't a door you open for guests who set your house on fire. The insurance refund arrived in my business account. I used part of it to hire a financial advisor and implement stricter security protocols. Maya helped me issue a formal statement to clients explaining the situation, which actually strengthened relationships as they appreciated my transparency and resilience in handling the fraud. I set up alerts for even the smallest unexpected charges. I'd learned that betrayal doesn't always wear a disguise. Sometimes it wears your last name. One afternoon, I walked past a jewelry store. In the window, a simple gold bracelet caught my eye. Elegant, understated. Mine, if I wanted it. Not the bracelet Bethany had borrowed 3 years ago and I'd later spotted in her Instagram photos. Not something I needed to hide or justify or share. Just something beautiful, purchased with my own card, with my name clearly printed on the receipt. As the sales associate slipped it onto my wrist, I remembered something my grandmother used to say before she passed. The people who truly love you will never make you prove it. I'd always thought that meant I had to earn love through sacrifice. Now I understood. Real love doesn't require you to compromise your boundaries. It doesn't demand that you set yourself on fire to keep others warm. I walked home, the new bracelet light on my wrist, my phone silent in my pocket. At my front door, I paused, taking in the quiet. No drama waiting on the other side. No eggshells to walk on, real or emotional. Just space and peace and a version of myself I hadn't met in years. Whole, unapologetic. Finally free from the belief that forgiveness means reunion. It doesn't. Sometimes forgiveness simply means closing the ledger, not forgetting the debt, but choosing never to let it drain you again. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one. My vision blurred at the edges as my mother's text message burned into my retinas. The stadium vendor contracts spread across my desk seemed to recede into the distance, suddenly irrelevant. "We've decided Quinn will go instead of you. He'll take better photos." The words hovered on the screen, clinical and final. A death sentence for 2 weeks of planning and $30,000 spent. My throat constricted as if someone had reached inside and grabbed my windpipe. I blinked, hoping the message would somehow change. It didn't. The gift I'd arranged for my father, first-class tickets to Dubai, a 5-star hotel, desert tours, all of it erased with a single group text where my name wasn't even mentioned. Just we and decided and someone else taking my place. My name is Olivia. I'm 34 and a project manager. This is the story of how I learned that family ledgers always balance in the end. The silence in my office felt oppressive, like a physical weight pressing down. I didn't respond to the text, not yet. Instead, I leaned back in my chair and stared at the wall of project binders I'd meticulously organized, evidence of my life's pattern, solving problems, managing details, making things work. I'd spent weeks planning this trip. 10 days in Dubai, a retirement gift for my father, Victor, a thank you for years of drywall dust and ruined knees, a chance, maybe, to feel like a family again. And they gave my seat to Natalie's fiancé, Quinn, who had once tried to pitch me an app idea that already existed in 10 better-funded versions. Quinn, who mysteriously needed the restroom whenever dinner checks arrived. Quinn, who spent Christmas in our living room talking about synergy while borrowing my Wi-Fi password. I opened the Emirates app. My name was still there for now. I didn't cry. That wasn't how I processed betrayal. Instead, I opened a spreadsheet, labeled it Dubai Recovery, and began making a list. Flights, hotel, tours, refund policies, security contacts. Next to each line item, I wrote one word: mine. Then I opened a second sheet and titled it Debt Ledger. At the top, I typed their names. I bought the second condo in 2018. 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy, but newer construction and close enough to downtown River City that it would always rent well. That was the plan. Passive income, long-term investment. I ran the numbers a dozen times before signing, locked in a 3.4% fixed rate, and set aside a fund for maintenance. I didn't buy it for them, but when Dad's job dried up during the pandemic and Mom, Pamela, said, "We just need a little time to get back on our feet," I handed them the keys. No lease, no deposit, just an agreement. $900 a month, utilities covered, less than half the market rate. Even that wasn't consistent. By year 2, I'd stopped asking. Asking turned into tension. Tension turned into silence. Natalie moved in around that time after falling out with roommates over personality clashes. She brought 6 suitcases, a dog, and a ring she said wasn't official yet, but close. They always had excuses: a delayed invoice, an unexpected car repair, Mom's birthday brunch. I tracked it all. $17,800 in missed rent by last November. I never brought it up again, not directly. I figured the spreadsheet would protect me from becoming resentful, as if neat rows and conditional formatting could make it fair. They bought a new espresso machine last fall. I recognized it from my Amazon cart. Natalie once called me cold for sending a Venmo request after she'd used my Instacart account to order $142 worth of supplements and sushi. "It's not a business, Olivia," she said, like I'd broken some unspoken rule of sisterhood. But it always felt like a business, a terrible one. High output, zero return, and emotionally bankrupt. That morning, I updated the spreadsheet. Then I called a locksmith because if they were going to treat me like a landlord, it was time they saw the paperwork. Quinn drifted into our lives the way spoiled cream ruins coffee, slowly, then all at once. The first time I met him, he shook my hand like it was a branding opportunity, saying something about leveraging legacy capital while complimenting the lighting in my condo. He wore tech vests over designer hoodies and name-dropped venture firms like they were close friends. According to Natalie, he was a visionary in the co-living disruption space, though when I asked what that meant, she blinked and said, "It's kind of housing, but smarter." He didn't have a job title, just ideas, vague ones, mostly centered around what other people should invest in while he nurtured the concept. Natalie adored him. She called him a futurist. Mom called him charming. Dad nodded a lot, probably out of exhaustion. When I announced the Dubai trip at Sunday dinner, I watched my father's eyes light up the way they hadn't in years. He pulled out his old book on desert architecture, said he'd always dreamed of seeing the Burj Khalifa in person. For 5 minutes, I felt something like warmth. Then Natalie asked if Quinn could come. "No," I said calmly. "It's a gift for Dad. I've already booked 4 seats." Silence. Then Natalie scoffed. "Seriously? You can't just buy one more ticket?" "I've maxed the budget," I replied. "And this isn't a vacation. It's a thank you." Natalie stood, arms crossed. "You're just bitter. No one's ever chosen you first." The words hit harder than I let on. I didn't flinch, just nodded. Quinn looked down at his phone like the whole thing was beneath him. Mom mumbled something about family. Dad avoided eye contact. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I pulled up the reservation portal and reviewed every cancellation policy line by line. Then I booked a locksmith for Friday at noon. I called Emirates, pretending to double-check my reservation. I already knew something was wrong. I just needed confirmation. The woman on the other end was polite, efficient. Yes, Ms. Patterson, your reservation was updated last week. You're marked as a no-show due to a medical emergency. I didn't breathe. A medical emergency? Yes, she continued. Someone claiming to be your sister called in, said you were hospitalized and would be unable to travel. She requested we change the ticket to her fiancé's name. Unfortunately, name changes aren't permitted for international travel under this fare class. My voice stayed calm. Did anyone attempt to board using that ticket? A pause. Yes, a man attempted to check in under your name yesterday, but was flagged. There's now a fraud note on the reservation. You should contact our fraud department directly. I did. Filed the report, sent in my ID, screenshots, timestamps. They took it seriously. By evening, I knew everything. Quinn had shown up to the airport with my ticket, my name, and a TSA agent who, according to Natalie's message, was a friend from college. They were trying to pass him through using my identity. I scrolled through the group text again. The message still sat there unashamed. We've decided Quinn will go instead of you. He'll take better photos. My seat, my name, my silence. I didn't respond to them. I didn't need to. I opened the spreadsheet I'd started. Next to return flights, I added cancel flag for misuse. Next to hotel booking, I wrote call to confirm ID requirement. I moved down the list like I was unbuilding a house. At the bottom of the page, I created a new section, legal risk. Then I opened another tab, logged into the smart lock dashboard for the condo, and changed the access code. Just before I closed my laptop, I looked back at the message one last time and whispered out loud to no one, I see you. And I did, clearly, for the first time. The first call I made was to the hotel, a beachfront property near Jumeirah, booked under my name and credit card. I asked if they'd allow check-in without me present. They said no. ID verification required at the desk. Perfect. I canceled the reservation. No refund. I didn't care. Next was the excursion company. I'd booked a full-day desert safari, private SUV, falcon show, dinner under the stars. Canceled. Then the yacht cruise. Then the cooking class. Then the spa. Each time I heard the same tone from the rep on the other end. Confused politeness, subtle concern, but no resistance. The refund emails trickled in, and I logged each one in my spreadsheet beside Quinn's name. Return flights were trickier. Emirates wouldn't let me cancel the completed outbound leg, but they agreed to flag the return flight for security screening. If the same boarding mismatch appears, we'll escalate internally, the fraud rep said. I thanked her. Then I changed my credit card number. Next came the locks. By 9 p.m., every door in the condo had been rekeyed. I installed 2 motion-activated cameras and a video doorbell synced to my phone. I printed a notice and taped it just inside the window. Entry by non-tenants subject to trespass law. Contact property manager. They weren't technically tenants. No lease, no formal agreement, just a 4-year story. I'd let them write in my name. That changed the next morning. I emailed a local property management firm and paid rush fees to draft a formal lease. Market rate, $2,950 per month. Utilities not included. First and last month's rent due at signing. I requested a 30-day move-in deadline or vacate notice prepared for signature delivery. Last, I called Rachel Holden, a real estate attorney I'd worked with once before. She remembered me. I explained the situation in clean, neutral language. She didn't interrupt, just said, period. I'll start the paperwork. We'll do this properly. By the time I shut my laptop that night, I hadn't spoken a single word to my family, but I had reversed every trace of what they took. And the silence felt better than anything they'd ever said. The first message came at 2:14 a.m. Olivia, what did you do? There's no hotel reservation. The guy at the desk just laughed at us. I turned my phone face down and went back to sleep. By morning, there were 12 more. We can't reach anyone. The excursions are gone. What's happening? Quinn, this is completely unprofessional and borderline illegal. You'll be hearing from my attorney. He broke his arm on the camel ride. Do you even care? You embarrassed us in front of Quinn's new investors. Do you understand what you've done? I did, and I had a spreadsheet to prove it. I scrolled through the messages like they belonged to strangers. They'd landed in Dubai assuming I'd still carry the load. Even after they kicked me off my own trip, they expected luxury. They got chaos. I imagined them walking into the hotel lobby, tired, smug, expecting cold towels and bellhops, only to hear, "No reservation under that name." I imagined the panic starting to crack through Natalie's polished voice, Quinn huffing into his phone, trying to sound important, Victor red with humiliation. There were three people who had built a world out of assumptions. I had simply removed the scaffolding. Later that afternoon, a video came through. Quinn sitting on a bench with a makeshift sling, Natalie in the background yelling at a cab driver. I didn't hit play. I could see from the thumbnail what happened. Apparently, they'd managed to book a camel excursion on their own, and Quinn had fallen off and broken his arm, just as their message had claimed. "Olivia, you've made your point. We'll sort it out." But this was cruel. Cruel. The word sat with me longer than I expected. Cruel was paying $30,000 and being replaced. Cruel was using someone's name at airport security without consent. Cruel was telling your daughter she's less photogenic than a man you've known for 11 months. I opened a new tab and made a $1 donation to the GoFundMe Natalie had set up months ago for Victor's upcoming knee surgery. It was still active, sitting at $311. The site asked if I wanted to make my name public. I did. Under message, I typed, "From the daughter who wasn't invited." Then I closed the laptop and made myself tea. I had a meeting with Rachel the next morning to sign the eviction packet. They pulled into the driveway like nothing had happened. Natalie waved from the passenger seat as if we hadn't spoken in weeks. Quinn stepped out slowly, his arm in a black sling, designer hoodie draped carelessly over it. His expression was pure performance, equal parts wounded and defiant. Victor didn't get out of the car. I met them halfway across the gravel, papers in hand. They had managed to book return flights on their own credit cards after I'd flagged the original return tickets, arriving home just 3 days after their disastrous trip began. "This is your new lease," I said. $2,950 a month. First and last due before moving. Utilities not included. You have 30 days. Natalie blinked. "Are you serious right now?" "I am." "You're evicting your own parents," she snapped, stepping closer. "After everything." "I'm offering them a legal contract. That's more than I got." Quinn took the packet from me, flipped through the first page like he was scanning for loopholes. "You can't be serious. This isn't how family works." I looked at him and said flatly, "Then it's good we're not family." He scoffed. "This whole thing could have been resolved with a conversation. You didn't need to blow everything up." I motioned to the lease. "That is the conversation." He handed it back like it was beneath him. "I'll have to run this by my advisor." I raised a brow. "Is that your dad or the camel?" Natalie gasped. Quinn's jaw tightened. I handed the papers back to him anyway. "You said you wanted a business, Quinn. This is it. Property contracts, payment terms. Consider this your final pitch." They didn't say another word. I turned and walked back inside, locking the door behind me. On the way to the kitchen, I opened the mailbox and found the notarized copy of the eviction filing. Rachel had moved fast. They never signed the lease. Not in week 1 when I reminded them by email. Not in week 2 when the property manager dropped off a hard copy with a stamped envelope. By week 3, they stopped acknowledging me altogether. On day 30, I filed the eviction paperwork with the county clerk's office. Quinn sent a text 2 hours later. "You're opening yourself up to serious legal consequences. My attorney will be in touch." I replied with a screenshot of the filing confirmation. Natalie left a voicemail sobbing, saying I'd torn the family apart over one stupid vacation. The same Natalie who helped Quinn fake a medical emergency and nearly committed identity fraud on my ticket. Victor sent a long email, half guilt, half nostalgia. He talked about the time he stayed up all night helping with my science project, the birthday cake he once made from scratch when I turned 11. He ended it with, "Period. I didn't think you'd be capable of this. I raised you better." None of them apologized. Not once. Not for the messages. Not for the boarding pass. Not for stealing the seat or taking the money or calling me bitter or boring or selfish. They circled around the truth, orbiting it like a planet they refused to land on. I forwarded everything to Rachel. Texts, Voicemails, screenshots. She told me to hold firm and let the paperwork do its work. By the end of the week, the court date was set. 5 days. I changed nothing about my routine. I drank the same coffee in the same mug, showed up to work early, ate dinner alone, and in peace. But I noticed I slept better. The headaches I'd had for years were gone. The more they fought to stay, the more I understood they'd never truly belonged. They knocked on my door exactly 1 year after the court date. Same porch, same nervous energy, different arrangement. The court had ruled in my favor, and they'd been forced to move out. During that year, we'd had no contact. I had blocked their numbers and email addresses, and they hadn't attempted to reach me through other means until now. Quinn wasn't with them. Natalie stood slightly behind Victor, arms folded tight like she was holding herself in place. Victor leaned on a cane, face more drawn than I remembered. Time had finally started to show. "We didn't come to fight," my mother said. I didn't answer, just waited. "We've been doing a lot of thinking," she continued. "About how things went, about the trip, about you." "Quinn's gone," Natalie added, barely above a whisper. "He left when everything dried up. After we had to move out, he said it wasn't the lifestyle he signed up for. He broke off the engagement and moved to Seattle for a startup job 3 months after the eviction." Victor cleared his throat. "They say I need surgery. My knees. Bone on bone now. Medicare won't cover the whole thing. We just need a little help until we're stable." That phrase again. I felt it hit like a dull thud in my chest. Just until. I reached behind the door and handed them an envelope. Pamela blinked. "What's this?" $3,000, I said. "For the knee, that's it." Natalie stepped forward. Are we okay now?" "No," I said. "This isn't reconciliation, it's accounting." None of them spoke. Victor looked at the envelope like it was both a gift and a sentence. Natalie looked away. Pamela looked like she wanted to cry but didn't remember how. "I'm not angry," I added. "I just don't owe you anything beyond this." Pamela reached out, maybe for my hand, maybe just for contact. I didn't move. They left quietly. I watched them walk to the car, 3 shadows against the dying sun. I wondered if they'd drive home and twist this too, turn it into something uglier or softer than it was. Maybe both. But I knew what it was. It was the last payment I'd ever make on a family I stopped investing in long ago. The message came a week later. "Until you fix this, you're no longer our daughter." No greeting, no punctuation, just a single sentence tossed like a final stone through a window already broken. I didn't feel anger, not even surprise, just something that resembled confirmation. I sat with it for a minute, phone resting on the kitchen counter beside the envelope that had gone uncashed. Victor had refused to use the money, too proud to accept what he viewed as charity rather than what it really was, the final balancing of our accounts. I later learned he never got the knee surgery. Then I replied, "I stopped being yours the day you sold my seat." I didn't wait for a response. I screenshotted both messages and forwarded them to Rachel. I knew she'd log it just in case anything else came through. Paper trails had become my second language. Then I turned off my phone, packed a weekend bag, and left the condo. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, just drove. Windows down, music low, River City's highway curves slipping under my tires like ribbon. The silence wasn't lonely. It was clean. I stopped at a coastal town I'd always meant to visit but never had time for. Checked into a small inn where no one knew my name. Walked the cliffs at dusk, let the cold bite my hands, and watched the ocean drag the light away inch by inch. That night, I fell asleep without checking my phone. No notifications, no spreadsheets, no calls about late rent or favors or forgiveness dressed as obligation. When I woke the next morning, I stretched into the stillness like it was something I'd earned. I brewed hotel coffee, sat near the window, and thought about that plane seat, the one I paid for, the one they gave away. I realized I didn't want it back. Not anymore. Not ever. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.